Good evening, customers of Knowhere Games and Comics. It's me, Matthias, here with your weekly live stream of all the awesome new comics that came out today. New Comic Book Day, October 30th, 2019. It is the eve of Halloween, and we got some amazing new horror books coming out and ahead. But before we get into that, I want to talk about some amazing events coming ahead. The big one being November 9th, we're going to have David Booher in here, the creator of Kanto, the man behind Powerless, and Alien Bounty Hunter. And the big news there is we will have the final issue of Kanto number 6, 2 weeks before you can get it anywhere else in the world. You won't find it at any other comic shop, convention, or event until November 20th, but you can grab it here on November 9th with David Booher here to sign it for you. We love David. It's going to be really awesome. I also want to remind you, on the 23rd of November, we're also going to be having Local Comic Shop Day. We'll have some awesome exclusive variants. We will have some really cool rare items, some amazing sales. Oh, and one more thing, we're going to have Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly, the writers of Star Trek Year 5, the writers of Genlock, the writers of Gotham City Garage, and so many other absolutely amazing comic books, here signing in Knowhere Games and Comics. It is just an awesome array of events that we will have throughout November, and that's not even mentioning things like Black Friday and other things that we haven't even announced yet. So, lots of really cool stuff. But the other cool stuff we need to talk about is what comics came out this week. I have our good friend Richard Robello here. He's basically our J, my Silent Bob to my J. He is my teller to, my whoever Penn is. He just doesn't talk. He just sits there and laughs and look awkward. So anyway, new comics. Lots of fun things to talk about. But we're going to start off with some trade paperbacks because Vault has an amazing graphic novel out this week that is probably one of my favorite things they have put out. It is a brilliant piece of vampirism and gods and monsters set in colonial India. It is These Savage Shores. Awesome trade paperback, now available. If you haven't read it, you need to read it. And if you check our social media, soon we will be posting the first issue for free, so you can enjoy that and then dive into the entirety right here. If you're a Red Goblin fan, we had a lot of fun for you, as obviously Absolute Carnage has been bringing the Carnage to the forefront. Red Goblin was the tale of the Carnage symbiote on Norman Osborn. Now you can get that entire tale in trade paperback form right here. Moving on, of course, we have our amazing and spiderous little events of Absolute Carnage, Amazing Fantasy 15, the classic reprint of the first appearance of Spider-Man, and Amazing Mary Jane, which I truly loved. We had the Amazing Spider-Man Full Circle, all things that came out last week, all things that I would just want to point out again, because we love Spider-Man here. But we're going to dive into the new stuff right now with Aquaman, the 100-page giant, a DC book that has some new stories as well as reprints with an awesome local comic shop exclusive cover to beat out the crappy ones at Walmart. Basket Full of Heads is the brand new part of the Hill House line of comics over at DC. It is Joe Hill's incredible and haunting new story with some absolutely amazing covers, all of which happen to be Joshua Middleton at the moment. But you know what? That Joshua Middleton cover is just so beautiful. Why wouldn't you want it? I don't know, Richard. Why would you not want this beautiful cover?
I apparently should have gotten cover A. I don't know, that was amazing that went before this one. Not that it wasn't great looking, but this is stunning. Awesome story. This is, like he said, part of the
Hill House?
Hill House. Sorry, I'm very tired, so please bear with me. The Hill House line of DC's Black Label, which is going to be a bunch of horror stories. This one, it takes up a character named June Branch. She finds herself a victim of some deranged criminals who have taken her boyfriend, and she tries to defend herself with this Viking axe that she finds, but it has mystical powers. Not only can it chop the person's head off with one fail swoop, but it leaves their head actually alive, and so she's got to deal with that. It's pretty cool. But on top of that, at the back of this book, in each issue that comes out in this line of books, different titles, there's a story called Sea Dogs, and that one is the one I'm very excited about. It takes place during the Revolutionary War. The Americans have found what seem to be werewolves to combat the British at sea. Very exciting, very fun to read. Don't miss out on it. And like I said, I should have gotten cover A as well. I only picked up the Middleton.
I don't know. I think that Middleton cover is pretty amazing. Moving on, we have Batman Annual number 4, which is a really tragic and intense story for you Alfred fans, particularly for those of you who are still trying to recover from the events of Batman 77. This will not make it better, but damn, is it a good story. Tom King continuing his unbelievable run of Batman. Batman and the Outsiders also gets an annual this week with the wonderful Katana, as our characters are trapped inside her Soul Taker sword. Black Panther hits its 17th issue this week, continuing the intergalactic empire of Wakanda. Ta-Nehisi Coates still kicking butt there. Hi, Cesar! That's a perfect Spider-Man icon, considering how much we love Spider-Man here. Bloodshot had an incredible movie trailer recently. I don't care if you want to say otherwise. I think it's one of the greatest things ever. And now issue 2 of the popular Valiant comic is out to get you ready for that amazing upcoming film starring Vin Diesel with some awesome covers available. I swear there are different cover options. There we go. The big one I want to talk about this week is Chrononauts. It's Mark Millar's return to his classic Bros That Travel Through Time tale. It is like a modern day Bill and Ted. And the interesting thing you might be noticing here is I'm showing you 4 separate issues. Why is that? Because in Netflix's style of binging, Netflix, who owns the rights to the upcoming Chrononauts TV series, has released issue 1, 2, 3, and 4, all on the same week, which means you can binge all 4 issues immediately. And I gotta say, having read all 4 issues last night, it is worth it. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the Chrononauts, it's 2 very friendly dudes who happen to have that bro-ish culture and style, but they're also brilliant scientists. In the first volume, they traveled back in time and hung out with some awesome key figures in history, much like a certain Bill and Ted, except in a more modern style and with a lot more science and craziness than it was a history lesson for those who are currently looking at a rainy day schedule at their local elementary or middle school. But with Chrononauts Volume 2, we're going to the future. Yes, these guys have continued their time-traveling ways and are still government-backed, amazingly somehow, and they're now looking to the future where they will discover the rules of time and who controls them. Mark Millar, awesome new series with Eric Kanite doing some great artwork. Love this book. Gotta read it. Buffy the Vampire Slayer's Hellmouth, issue number 1, the start of the big event miniseries that crosses Buffy and Angel, finally got out these wonderful foil covers, so these are now available if you want. I had to pick one up. This is just way too awesome to not own. Conan dies. Oh, sorry, that was somewhat spoilerish. Conan issue number 10, the final fate of Conan, as he goes to meet his maker. Yes, by Crom. In next issue, he'll be meeting Crom. Jason Aaron has an interesting tale, and how Conan will come back from the dead will be the interesting twist. You'll have to pick up this issue to find out. Deceased hits its 6th and final issue of Tom Taylor's zombie epic in the DC Universe this week with a absolutely amazing Mattina cover, a unbelievably hot Mark Brooks cover, and a wonderful horror variant as well. But to talk the wonderful Deceased, let me turn it over to Mr. Robello.
First off, George, stop sending me the cease and desist letters to review the DC comic books. It's not going to work. That said, if you've been reading this series, this is the ending that you've been waiting for. This is fantastic. It is a lot of fun. If you've been enjoying this, I can't say much about this because everything I say will be very spoilerish and I don't want to ruin it for you. But we find out, does humanity survive? Does Earth survive? Do any of our heroes survive? Superman versus his son? I've probably already said too much.
Well, let's ask it this way. Is it a happy ending or a tragic ending?
Does it end?
Oh,
I don't know.
There's the
twist.
twist.
It is the ultimate cliffhanger. And if it doesn't pick up in a continuing story, it is the best way to end it to let you decide what happens. It is fantastic. But it does give you a ton of action, a lot of answers to what's going on. And it just lets you decide, I guess, unless they decide to pick it up and bring it back.
All right. Final issue out today. And remember, on Local Comic Shop Day, November 23rd, we will have a wonderful limited edition hardcover exclusive at shops like Knowhere Games and Comics. Disney's The Little Mermaid, many decades later, is getting a new comic story, an adaptation of the classic film by Cecil Castellucci, who is doing a brilliant job and makes this a very, very fun read, even if you are the most well-versed Little Mermaid fan out there. Doctor Strange has an awesome annual this week by the great Teenie Howard. Well, Excalibur finally continues the Dawn of X with Betsy Braddock, the former Psylocke, and now Captain Britain, as well as Jubilee, Rogue, Gambit, Apocalypse, and more. This was a really fun series. It reminded me very heavily of the classic 1990s Excalibur series, except, I mean, we get even more. Yes, you're going to see the original Captain Britain, Brian Braddock. We're going to see Jamie Braddock. We're going to see all sorts of fun stuff. You're going to have great dialogue because Gambit and Apocalypse do not go well together, and more. I love this book. It is great. I mean, it's not as absolutely unbelievably ridiculously amazing as Marauders, but it's damn close. Fantastic Four Grand Design as Piscor continues doing some awesome covers, and we get a classic, bit of history of the Fantastic Four in that style of the hip-hop histories. Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is Tom Taylor's Marvel book, because why can't he have a DC and a Marvel book this week, with Ken Lashley as we continue the awesome Tales of Peter Parker with, wouldn't you guess it, the Fantastic Four. Harleen was an unbelievable take on the origin of Harleen Quinzel, but as Step and Sage did such a kick-ass job with issue number 1, of course, we brought him back for issue number 2 of the 3-part series, the Black Label event that you cannot miss is here, continuing on with 2 great covers in this second of 3 parts. Ken's amazing pick of the week. Hellboy and the BPRD, The Long Night at Golowski Station is the new Mike Mignola Hellboy piece, a one-shot of dark Russian intrigue. We have Invisible Woman, because we love Fantastic Four this week, as Mark Waid continues and finishes off the 4-issue miniseries, focusing on the most powerful of the Fantastic Four. Ironheart Riri Williams gets her 11th issue from Al Ewing this week. Well, Jim Henson's The Dark Crystal Age of Resistance hits its second of 12 issues. I hope you're all watching that great Netflix series. If you haven't already, you should hop in on that, and then come grab the comic. Jeff Lemire has a absolutely dark and twisted Joker tale that is Black Label worthy as can be. In Joker Killer Smile, Andre Sorrentino's artwork is amazing, but this Carrie Andrews cover is absolutely shocking. You're going to want to grab this book. Whichever cover you choose. I personally went with the Andrews. Steve Niles continues Kick-Ass. Well, Cullen Bunn continues Knights Temporal. Both great series from Image and Aftershock, respectively. But the big one I really want to talk about right now is The Last God. The Last God is one I'll actually bring Richard in to talk about as well. It is Philip Kennedy Johnson's epic D&D adventure. And I say D&D adventure for a good reason. Because not only does this feel like a role-playing game, it actually will soon have Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition role-playing stats for all your beloved characters, races, and more. There are 2 amazing covers on it, and I'm going to turn to Richard and myself to talk about this amazing book. I thought this was an amazing one. I mean, it literally, you can see from the start, the various characters are, your classic like rogue and wizard, your cleric, your assassin, all the key characters you would have in a D&D party going on an epic quest to defeat some evil gods. And they do so. That isn't the spoiler, because the spoiler is what comes 30 years later as these people fall into positions of power, and we really get to see the outcome on one of these epic quests. I mean, I thought it was awesome. The artwork on every page was as good as this, if not better. I can't chime in enough about how much I love it. What do you think?
Well, I was trying to chime in, but I don't need to talk. But sorry. No, it's excellent. If you are into fantasy, if you like playing D&D, this is right up your alley. It is very heavy, a very, very heavy read for a comic book, which I enjoyed. Definitely need to sit down and with time to digest this one. I started to pick it up the first time. I went, I need to come back to this when I have time to commit to it. But it is good. It's not like it's a hard read. It's just like it is really dives into that fantasy folklore.
It is, I mean, it is not only a whole world, it's a whole universe. The nice thing is the back matter on this provides you with full maps and histories of the entire place. I mean, future issues are going to give us all sorts of Dungeons & Dragons 5e stats, but I mean, it creates a world for you to play in, so you can play right along these characters.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed that. That's where like you really have to sit down and probably just read the story and come back to read that, or do it all in one take. I guess I was just really tired, so maybe it's much easier and I'm just half asleep. But excellent, a lot of great artwork, killer story. Can't say enough good about this. It's great.
It's awesome. You know, rush in to get it because as many as we ordered, it's selling out quick. I'll work my best to get more copies in. You got to read it. It's awesome. So I'm going to let him sleep, and we're going to go right on forward to The Mall, the great Vault comic that is I wouldn't call it a zombie apocalypse by any means, but a certainly apocalyptic level event with our main character stuck in a mall. Michael Morrissey, the same man who is bringing us the ever so great comics that I can't come up with the title of at the top of my head from Vault, is teamed up with Doberman. It's a fun one. I got to say, you got to be reading this. Really cool stuff there. Manor Black, another wonderful Cullen Bunn horror title out this week. The Mart by the great Brian Haberlin. We're on to our last copies. Don't worry, second printings are on the way for this amazing adventure of witchery and tattoo ink. Marvel Zombies, just in time for Halloween, is back with Resurrection, a standalone one-shot with some absolutely horrific Halloween-timed covers. Love that Bradshaw one right there. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers continues on with issue number 44 and its Necessary Evil storyline. This is the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, not the Go-Go Power Rangers, so it is just Ryan Perro as opposed to Ryan Perro and the great Cena Grace. I love both of these series as they continue to roll forward, but I particularly love the Mighty Morphins because they have these great foil helmet variants by, I believe, Goni Montez. We talked about this before. It was my pick of the week last week, and it is still something I will pick every week because I love Money Shot. I'm going to talk about it a little bit more. Tim Seeley did a great tale here on par with the film Idiocracy. It is a story of a bunch of MIT scientists who in a sadly near future where politicians have felt that funding science is no longer worth it. I mean, it's all fake news anyway. These scientists have to find alternative means to fund their experiments. In this case, a transgalactic teleporting device. And what makes more money nowadays than porn? Yes, these guys and gals are going to fuck their way through the stars. I can't believe I just said that out loud. In a hilarious socio-political commentary that is also just funny, goofy. It is Zach and Miri Make a Porno. You can't go wrong with it. Some wonderful XXX covers by Tim Seeley and Mirka Andolfo in there. An amazing homage cover by the great Nathan Gooden. I love this book so much, you got to give it a shot. But we are going to need to check ID on that.
Woohoo, space porn!
Necromancer's Map. Another fun one from Vault. The sequel to... I'm about as tired as Richard right now. I can't think of anything right now. A sequel to another very, very great Vault book that I cannot name off the top of my head, but you guys will be loving this. This is a lot of fun, mystical magic and whatnot. Just like Once and Future, the newer printings on their way as we are getting closer and closer to the release of issue number 4 of Kieran Gillen's epic tale that is monster hunting meets Indiana Jones with a taste of T.H. White's Once and Future King. As the evil King Arthur is resurrected, can our heroes defend not only England, but the world? Another great one coming out from Vault is Plot. I think Tim Daniels and Michael Morrissey did an unbelievable job on this one. We talked up the first issue to no end. We will talk up the second issue equally so, to the point where I am going to get the wonderful Richard and myself to turn around the cameras and discuss this awesome tale that I also love. This one picks up after the amazing cliffhangers of issue number 1. We introduce a brand new character to the story. We thankfully might save the children. We save the children. And the horror continues to grow as more threats and the returning grand evil threat make themselves slightly more known. I really love this. I'm going to go to Richard because as much as he enjoyed number 1, he hadn't read number 2 at the time of our last one. I had already had the advantage of that. So now that you've read issue number 2, how do you feel about the series?
Well, you didn't lie, so that's good.
I didn't lie. What was it I didn't lie about? Let's be very clear, because I lie all the time.
We were discussing how the first issue left you wanting more.
Yes.
And you said that this was the issue that gives you that.
It
and
does.
Don't give up on it. And it's going to be great and full of tons of great promises and the book delivers. It is more. It's great. It's the meat and potatoes of the story. It's an exciting story, and I look forward to reading more of it. So.
Yeah. This is just kind of a horror, thriller. We don't want to give you too many details. We can say a awesome new female character is introduced. That has connections to some of the pre-existing characters. The town seems much smaller than we once thought, so you're going to get that small town vibe of interconnecting. And also, the whole town knows there's definitely more to this tale than we previously thought. Who the paranormal evil that we were introduced to in number 1 is, that's still coming. But do we dive deeper into it and get into some very disgusting, sticky, and frightful moments? Yes, we do. I'm excited. I cannot wait for issue number 3. I sadly have not read plot number 3. So, Adrian, Damien, if you're watching that, feel free to send me that PDF so I can order it and talk up it even more. And then for those of you, you're going to want to grab issue number 2, read it so you're right there with me in that strong desire to read issue number 3. Yeah. Yep. Awesome book.
Plot spoiler, Epstein didn't kill himself.
I got nothing for that one. Yeah, I mean, but he didn't. Red Goblin, the Red Death. It's its first standalone issue. Yes, Norman Osborn, who both was the Red Goblin during the Amazing Spider-Man 790, what was it, 797, 796?
Started at 794, but he became it in 798.
Yeah.
First full appearance.
That's why we keep Richard around. He knows his issue numbers. But then stopped being Red Goblin in issue 800, gets to return to the fun in a story that takes place during that time period, but also is going to be a great tie-in with what's happening in Absolute Carnage. Yes, nothing greater than a Carnage symbiote wearing Norman Osborn. Awesome covers available, awesome stories. Richard, I mean, what were your thoughts on this, considering you got to glance through it? I know you said something rather dark about the first story.
That first story is actually took me by surprise. Very graphic, very violent. Not graphic, I guess. Very violent, very...
visceral?
Yeah, it's just killer. It's like a psychopath on a rampage. Reminds me of good old, Carnage stories. And it makes sense, because he's got the Carnage symbiote. So, it's just a lot of fun. It just, like I said, it took me by surprise, and I was eagerly, I was pleased by it, I guess. I can't speak at all. But it was a lot of fun. For a one-shot with 3 different little stories in it, the first one was definitely the take-home.
Yeah, and then you couldn't time that better with a great Philip Tan cover that shows the young kids doing their Halloween best the day before Halloween. Moving on, yet another Vault book. Oh, I love Vault so much, so that makes it nice and easy. Relics of Youth. This is a really fun one. The first issue left us with a very interesting cliffhanger as we saw something that did not fit in on that island suddenly appear, and we get a little bit more of that fantasy reality kind of unfolding on the island these young teenagers have found themselves upon as Relics of Youth issue 2 continues. Rick and Morty hits its 55th issue, continuing on there. Nothing we really need to explain other than the fact that if you're not reading Rick and Morty, what are you doing? Just twiddling your thumbs waiting for the next season? Ride the Burning Desire hits issue number 5 this week as we continue the tale and have a great cover that homages a lot of the backups and bits and pieces that have been building up throughout the previous issues of Ride. Roku, the super assassin of the Valiant universe. She's like Medusa from Marvel, but she's valiant and better. She is a ninja with hair that is diamond sharp and fully controlled by her body. Cullen Bunn doing a kick-ass job just like he did with Punk Mambo. I am looking forward to seeing where this awesome, awesome miniseries goes. Runaways, it's issue 26 as we're introduced to new characters and perhaps a upcoming team name change right here. Stacy's Pick of the Week is Safe Sex, the fun story where sex is controlled by the bureaucracy of the government. And somebody is looking to rebel. Our young female protagonist must escape the potential lockdown and lockup of the police after they've taken away her husband. And the best place to escape to in this world is a sex club. Hellblazer is back. Yes, the wonderful John Constantine is back, and this time he's hanging out in the Sandman parts of the universe as he hangs out with Timothy Hunter, The Dreaming, and more in this new standalone one-shot by Cy Spurrier and Marcio Takara. It will lead into the upcoming ongoing of Hellblazer. And then, of course, there's Savage Avengers Annual. Gary Dugan, the same great man who wrote my favorite X-book of the past few months, Marauders, is handling this awesome tale of Conan and the Avengers. And for that, I'm going to turn to Richard.
In this issue of Savage Avengers, a barbarian walks into a brothel, Black Widow follows a trail of bodies, and a woman summons the son of Satan.
Damon
Tune in next time.
Yep, that was it. I mean,
That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
What more do you need?
I was really waiting for the end of that joke of,
Just the Top Gear intro.
Hyborian,
British.
Wow.
Just teasing.
I'm going to slap you with an Excalibur in a second.
Sorry.
Silver Surfer Black. It's its fifth, and I believe that is the final issue of Silver Surfer Black. Final issue. Silver Surfer Black. Donny Cates kicking ass with this. Tradd Moore doing some interesting and crazy art as he does an interesting and crazy cover here.
It's the last issue.
That is the last copy we have of that. Oh my God, this thing has just been selling gangbusters. It had 3 amazing covers, one by Mary Jane and one featuring the great God Null. But Silver Surfer Black, you got anything to say about this?
Yes, absolutely. If you're in the comments right now and you didn't put this in your pool and you've been reading it, just comment now. Take the last issue. You don't want to miss it. Silver Surfer Black, actually the Silver Surfer, he's not black yet in this, goes up against Null, has to sacrifice himself, plants a seed. I'm almost doing the damn Top Gear intro again. Yeah. And becomes a Silver Surfer Black. It's actually a really cool battle between him and Null. And it ties up the story nicely, doesn't leave you on a cliffhanger, but it does allow for them to explore this new character further. Not new, it's a twist on a character, but it's amazing. So comment, it's yours. Last one.
All right, we'll be checking the comments on that. Moving on, you want something really fun for Halloween? Why not a twist on the classic tale of Snow White with Snow White Zombie Apocalypse? From Scout Comics, this really thick, wonderful one-shot actually does a very unique tale on the classic Snow White twist as we deal with undead dwarves and all sorts of other, wonderful fantasy pieces actually, combined together in here. Artwork is absolutely stunning. I gotta say, it was a very fun read. I almost wish it was a mini-series rather than a one-shot, but make sure you come and grab this fun. The great guys and gals at Aspen have the 5th issue out of the current volume of Soulfire. J.T. Kroll, who is the master of the Soulfire universe, continues on with an absolutely unbelievable tale. We still, of course, have our Spawn 301s, but these are the last Spawn 301s that we're getting, so grab them quick. Superior Spider-Man issue number 12 is out this week. Christos Gage kicking butt as always. Star Pig wraps up with its 4th and final issue from the IDW series of a young girl in space and her awkward larva-like bug thing that she hangs out with. Then we have Star Trek Year 5, issue 7, the next episode in this tale of the 5th season of Star Trek, if there had been a 5th season. Jackson Lanzing and Colin Kelly write an amazing tale here, but of course they would, and we got extra copies, so you make sure you can come and grab those so you can get them signed on November 23rd when these awesome writers are here. Star Wars Adventures, it's its 27th issue this week, as did Star Wars Vader's Castle, but we're unfortunately all sold out of that. Give us a comment or a heads up if you want us to order more. Journey to the Star Wars Rise of the Skywalker, Star Wars Allegiance is on its 4th and final issue of this awesome tale that gives us, oh, well, there's an extra, piece right there, that gives us an awesome lead-in to the upcoming and final of the Star Wars films, or not, trilogy, the modern nine-tology, I don't know, something like that. But yeah, if you're going to see Rise of the Skywalker, you need to, or you're going to see Rise of the Skywalkers, you need to come read Star Wars Allegiance. And then, of course, we have the Star Wars Dr. Aphra Annual that is out this week from Cy Spurrier, annual number 3.
So do you think Feige will do a Dr. Aphra story?
I hope he does, actually. I feel he is respectful enough of Marvel that we might get a Dr. Aphra story. So those of you who haven't already grabbed your Darth Vader number 3 by Kieran Gillian, make sure you do so. That's her first appearance.
I'm just stoked he fired the idiots from Game of Thrones.
I personally liked Weiss and Hoffman, but, you know, we'll never get to see what there is.
Sorry.
So Swamp Thing, perfectly timed once again for Halloween, actually came out last week, but I respect this so much, I want you all to grab the horrific and horror-filled tales of not only Swamp Thing, but other magical parts of the DC Universe. Tales from the Dark Multiverse gives us some dark and twisted DC, as well as we get an alternate take on the death of Superman. Now, as the Eradicator takes over Lois Lane's body, just what will a grieved widow do in this dark multiverse tie-in that might hopefully lead into some effects coming up with the Infected?
Spoiler alert, she kills people.
Yes. Transformers Galaxies, it's its second issue. If you love the first one, you'll love the second one with 2 awesome covers available. And then we wrap up the live stream this week with Vampire State Building, Charlie Adler's new comic series post-Walking Dead as vampires take over New York. This awesome new piece of the Ablaze Publishing Company is continuing on strong. Those are the new comics for this week. October 30th, New Comic Book Day. Thank you all for watching. We hope to see you tomorrow. Happy Halloween.